Hello and welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. I'm your host, Kamaria Richmond, and we have a wonderful show for you today. We are talking to Mr. Dan Blades and Mr. Mel Jenkins, and we're going to talk about Christmas in April, a program in Prince George's County that helps those that are under-deserving, well, they are deserving, but may have a little trouble with some home repairs. And we're talking about the elderly and the disabled, and we have a lot to talk about. So gentlemen, they're both board of directors, so thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you. And so this is a great program. So tell us about the program.
This program began in 1989, and this was our 31st year with the program, and it came about because the owner of Mona Electric made a trip to Texas, and they had a program that they had started there, and he loved the program and brought it back to Prince George County, and so we started that program, and he got the county government involved with it, and then a number of businesses, and it grew from there to where it is today. And today, we generally use we have about 3,000 volunteers. It's a one-day event, the last Saturday in April. And we have a number of businesses and churches and other nonprofits that support the program. So just to give you some sense of, and we generally have more applicants than what we're able to do. We run close to 200 applicants for the program. Applicants have to have their application in by November the 1st each year, and then from that group of applicants, we go through a process of selecting those that will be worked on that following April.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit before we started the show about how you become an applicant. So Mel, tell us a little bit more about how people can get involved with the program. Like, what is the criteria?
Okay, first, thank you for inviting us here today. Dan gave you an amazing overview from beginning to end with Christmas in April. Just if I could just go back a little bit. Sure. It started with Paris Glendenning, the county executive, and then of course Wayne Curry, Rashern Baker, and now Angela also Brooks. That all of them have been amazing in this program in delivering these services to these seniors or those that are infirmed or can't afford to make repairs. So you ask about the criteria of the program. The criteria is first of a certain age, that unless you have a disabled child or you yourself are disabled, it does have a level within earned income, and those are the basis of the program. We received applications from many churches, from the Prince George's County government, as well as through when on the day of the event, folks take applications around. You get it through your neighbors, you get it through the police department, through the fire department. So those applications begin to come in, and then it starts going through a review process to make sure that you fit that criteria.
Okay, and what, so...
That's embarrassing.
That's okay, it happens. So when most people are saying, okay, I need help, they're in dire straits at this point.
Most people that apply for the program need the program. And part of the application process, they'll spell out where they need help and what kind of help what they need to have done to the house. It could be a leaky roof. It could be a bathroom toilet that's plugged up and isn't working. It could be a drain in the bathtub or in the kitchen that's not working. It could be faucets that are leaking. It could be cabinets that are worn out and broken. It could be floors that are in bad shape. We've had, I know some of that I've worked on, I remember having one house that was full of, the house was full of termites. And we had to rip the floor up and sister up all the floor joists in order that people wouldn't fall through the floor. It was that bad. So some of the houses are really in bad condition. And some are minor. So we we have an array of what we call a light house versus a heavy house. So that's a house that needs little work versus one that needs a whole lot of work.
Okay, okay.
When the applicant fills out the application, there's a series of questions. And most important that Christmas in April, and I'm really like that because of my safety and environmental job, is we ask what would they like from a safety perspective? What do they need?
Okay.
And so often we find through the amazing fire department in Prince George's County, they need smoke detectors, which is one of those first safety functions. They have staircases that aren't in good shape. They may have doors that aren't secure. So we look at it from a safety perspective and want to give the homeowner every opportunity to have everything that they could want or desire, but it's all donated services. So we really have to make sure that we're clear that we're going to ask for that, but potentially that some things we don't get. So that's our public outreach. We need those items in order to add a stove, to give someone a new countertop from a leaky sink, as Dan was pointing out. Sometimes the plumbing in an aging home, the electrical in an aging home is so essential to this type of work, and we need those services and those volunteers.
And you mentioned talking about safety because so many people now, I don't have a fire alarm, I don't have, the carbon monoxide. Right. And so how do you get people, how do you get the word out that you have got to have this?
Well, first, I think that starts in the application process, but it leads also through the inspection of what we call the house captain, which is a key ingredient in the success of Christmas in April in Prince George's County. A house captain, once we go through a preliminary inspection, just to make sure we've got their idea, we get to meet the homeowner, the applicant, to find out, let them know that we're real, that we're not a scary person, and we're there for them. We get to meet them. From there, we send, once they're approved, we send a house captain is assigned to that. So every year you have about roughly 80. When we first started, you had 10 or 20. Now we can have as many as 80, and we've had upwards of 100 house captains responsible for this home that's searching for volunteers along with the office there at Prince George's County, and they go and perform an inspection. Within that inspection, they're taking the detail. And one of those details are going to be those things that you mentioned, the carbon monoxide detector, the smoke detector. They're going to be looking for their security, doors, floors, plumbing leaks. And sadly, we find sometimes that it is in need of immediate service. And some of those house captains step up to that plate and just take care of it right away, where we can install a smoke detector. Sometimes it's as easy as someone doesn't have a light. And if they're in a wheelchair and the family's not there, how do they put a light bulb in? And they need immediate attention. And that's where our county can improve at. And so we have Christmas in April that can help with that. And that's how we do it.
And that's really interesting, like immediate. So you don't have to wait. You can immediately help someone.
Well, when I do inspections, and I'm not going to speak for all the inspectors, but when I do the inspection, if there's something of a safety nature, I generally have a toolbox in the back of my pickup.
Okay.
And I'll take care of it right away, because I don't want to leave the homeowner if there's an issue where they could get hurt. So I try to take care of that. And generally, I don't have that many of those, so it's not really difficult to take care of those immediate kinds of needs. Most of the times, they're generally not immediate.
Okay.
They can wait till the program in April that comes along. So
And how many homes are we, you've been doing this for quite some time. How many homes?
we've done, since the program began, we've done over 2,700 homes in this county.
Wow.
2,700 homes.
Yeah.
That is
Over
amazing.
2,700
It is
homes.
amazing.
That is amazing. And now who's doing the work?
we have skilled workers and we have unskilled workers. So the skilled workers would be like your plumbers, your electricians, and carpenters. And then we have journalists like me who can do a little bit of everything, but not an expert on any one thing, that also help run this program. And then we have volunteers off the street from churches and other nonprofits and people that just want to help out for the day that call in and say, I want to help out. And so the program refers them to the house where they need help. And so we have about 3,000 volunteers on that one-day event.
That's amazing.
It is. It's truly amazing the way it works.
Wonderful.
We have our volunteers, and you have house captains, and a lot of them are returning house captains, so they kind of already know the drill.
Okay.
We do the county, the different local unions, and we really do love them and appreciate them because that's the way we get some of that heavier work done that a normal, what we call a normal volunteer, that does not have those essential skills that anyone can grab a paintbrush basically and paint. They can help us hold something up and nail it. But you need a good carpenter, an electrician, and a plumber when you get into a house that's medium to heavy. So those are essential, and we look for them all the time. We really appreciate them. But nonetheless, you get someone in from any of the industries throughout the county, a volunteer, and they get out and they clean the yard, they cut the grass, they paint, they get on a ladder and clean a gutter, they put in lights, they clean windows. We have some of our house captains will ask for them, can you do some laundry? And the volunteers will do that as well. For that day. You get out, and if it's a lighthouse and you have a large size team, maybe you clean their car. Maybe you do help them with the laundry.
Or start their car.
Yeah, you do something. You never walk away without helping them to feel good about their environment. It's their home and they're inviting us in. And we just get that moment to reach out to them, to support them and to help them. And it's a very rewarding moment for anyone that's ever been a volunteer at Christmas in April.
And I wasn't even thinking, I'm just thinking you do the home repairs. So especially if you're elderly or if you have a disability and someone will come do your laundry or wash your car.
It's one day. I mean, it's only one day.
Right.
And folks do step up and do that because you want to take care of that homeowner for that day. Definitely you see some challenges, you see some heartbreaking challenges. And then our amazing, the executive director, her support team, all of the members of the board step up and they do everything we can possibly do within the county to get them the essential support because you do run into challenges, hoarding being one. Someone that may not have a great communication, not only in language, but more about capacity to understand who we are, what our expectations, what are their expectations of us. So we have to have family support too, or those close to them, sometimes a church, a deacon, a family member, a distant family member will step in and help us so that we can translate that, for lack of a better word, and make sure they understand.
Yeah, I can see how that may be challenging for some folks.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that is. And when you're talking about this day, so what is this day like? What time do you start? What goes on like the entire day?
We start, Mary, you have to meet Mary Krzeski, the executive director, because she's an amazing phenomenon, and we talk about her. No one can tell her no. We all say no to her, but we always do what Mary wants us to do. We start early in the morning. You start by prepping, and I would say that most of the house captains are there by 7. So you have to make sure you're communicating that with the homeowner so they're not worried at 7 o'clock in the morning who's showing up at my door. And usually usually there's a table. The house captain sets up a table, a welcome. All the volunteer forms are signed. They greet them with maybe if something's been donated. Amazing organizations do donate different things for breakfast. Our McDonald's fans, our Chick-fil-A has been amazing in doing things like this. Giant and Safeway, Dunkin' Donuts. So they will help us with the breakfast to get the team started. We have a welcoming. Sometimes if you're in one organization, maybe it's a church organization, they begin with a prayer. And it begins to move on, and everyone takes on their assignments. It starts going through. The house captain is really responsible for knowing who moves here, what's going to be done, their time that they're allotted, because we have to get it done in a day. So that's the way it usually begins. It gets to lunchtime, and then by then everyone is in full mode. They're really on the roll then, and we stop and we have lunch. Everyone, including the homeowner. Some homeowners will take it upon themselves if they would like to maybe put something on the table. That's wonderful. Companies like such I work for, Southern, we provide a $500 donation to that house captain so that they can buy lunch for that family and for the volunteers. It's an amazing company, and that's what we do to keep that team motivated, engaged there. And then you begin phase two. You begin that afternoon session with finishing things up, the little details, and that's where you begin to see the time difference between a light house, a medium house, or a heavy house, and what you can do outside of the normal, our checklist of what we want to get done in that day. Like I said, providing some cleaning or some laundry.
Some houses, I had one house that I visited as the area coordinator this year, and the house captain finished all the work in a half a day that needed to be done to that house, which is very unusual. When I got to the house, I called the house guy and said, "Where's the team?" He said, "We're done."
Oh my goodness.
They really didn't need that much, but what they needed, they needed. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's unusual. Generally, it's more than a day worth of work that we do in these houses. And but anyway, just to give you a little bit of background before this house captain gets involved on the day of the event, we have a warehouse in Upper Marlboro. I don't know how many square feet it is. Do you know how many square feet that warehouse is?
Thousands of square
I'm going to
feet.
say 20. I'm going to say 15,000 square feet. And it's the old jail in Upper Marlboro. We have the second floor, and the Prince George County Park and Planning Commission has the first floor, and they run a nursery or daycare out of the first floor. Anyway, we have donations of supplies that are in this warehouse. We have contractors that, for example, would buy a complete kitchen with cabinets and things, and the homeowner would reject it, and so they donate the whole thing to the program. So we get a lot of nice new kitchen cabinets that come in. We get toilets, and we get sinks, and we get faucets and tubs, and so an array of stuff that's donated to us. And of course we fundraise and we buy the supplies that are needed for the house captain needs for that day, one day event. So when they go out to make their inspection, they prepare a supply list. And they mark on the supply list what they need. And then we do bulk buying through a hardware company in town. And so that's generally how it's done. And we have little squares with numbers on them, 1 through 85, we'll say. And this company will bring all the supplies out and set them on the square, and the square is for each house. Each house gets a number. So then the house captain comes, generally 2 weeks before the event, picks up the supplies. So he has all the supplies he needs for that one-day event.
Okay, so what is the year like? Like, what is the entire year getting to April?
It seems that each year that the year we progress that I will say there's not a real clear ending or a beginning for many of us, especially those on the board, because it starts and course concludes. I don't know if it begins or ends with the conclusion of, again, our biggest fundraiser, the golf tournament, that I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later on. But by November, the applications come in. As soon as we finish on April, let's say it's April 26th, we already have applications being delivered for the next year's program. So that goes all the way through. They're sorting through it at the office. Then November 1st, that's when we're going to start. Then we're going to have our final cutoff date, and you have to begin the pre-inspections. Those pre-inspections begin. They have to be done by Thanksgiving, no later than the 1st of December. Then what happens is you have a screening of those. What are their age? They may be 50 years old and have no disability and have a very nice income, and they may not qualify for that. Or they could be a person that is 82 that fits every level of the category, and they're approved very quickly. Then what we have to do is decide, based upon the description of that inspector, is it a light, medium, or heavy house? Or can it be assigned to a house that is going to take it over for the entire year, adopt a house program? And we have an adopt a house program, and many of the builders, the banks, great organizations will take that on and adopt that house for the whole year and do everything in there. It's a remarkable addition to this program with that happening. Then they get the letters out by the end of the year saying congratulations, or potentially here's why, potentially next year, please come back to us, call us if you have any questions. Then they begin to start the heavy inspection. What's going to be done? What are the materials we need? They're going to put together material lists. They're going to start making requests for those material lists.
So that's in February.
Yes, it's going to the warehouse. It's going to be divided up in this amazing warehouse that the county has offered us and provides us to put these materials in. And as Dan said, some people, we get amazing materials. That tends to be rare, but we sometimes do get some really amazing cabinets. For me, it's, I don't know, you must be getting the good stuff because
I go there early.
There you go. See, there's always a caveat. For me, a part of it also is that when you find those homes in different part of the county, you do find then that they have some age on them. Where they're very mature, and they require some special attention. So Community Forklift in Bladensburg is a wonderful organization that gives us and helps provide. So maybe they have a pedestal sink, a very heavy cast iron, and maybe it's cracked, but maybe that just fits in their bathroom. You may find that at the Community Forklift to put it back in the condition that it was. If not, we have to seek out a small vanity or something, but it's all donated. And that's a big bulk of the office and that organization to get the supplies and materials. People's Supplies in Bladensburg also helps us a great deal. A number of companies do so much to provide those materials. Then they get to the warehouse. Dan mentioned 2 weeks before the event, the house captains are showing up. They're going to begin to pull their stuff out of the squares, those numbered squares. They're going to get their signs, their t-shirts. They're going to get some snacks that have been donated, and off we go. They get to the home, and then we start the morning of the event. So now we're up to the end of April. There's kind of a brief rest. They're putting it back together, but then all of us are involved. And the next step is the fundraising part of it, which is the golf tournament, which is our largest single fundraiser for that. We have a number of things in between. Moose Lodge does a lot and helps us. They have a couple of nights. Restaurants around will donate their time, donate a portion of what they raise at lunch and at dinner. It doesn't seem to end, but it does. It gets quiet, but there's always someone working behind the scenes. It never quite stops.
And you are getting a lot of support.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
I mean, if you have the county involved and you have volunteers, so you really do get a lot of support,
We have
everything you need for the
businesses and
program.
churches and nonprofits and Wonderful program.
And do you do any advertisements? So you know that it's word of mouth, and do you do a lot of advertisements? I mean, is it something that you see on TV, or mostly the word of mouth and working with the organizations?
It really isn't.
Well, we have a website.
Yes.
Which is very helpful to us because people can go on there and print off an application that they can submit to the. So there is, and generally, when you're in a neighborhood and you do somebody's house, the word gets around.
Right.
So we get into some neighborhoods. I've been on that same street 5 years in a row, 5 years in a row, doing different houses. So the word gets
Sure.
around. The word
It
gets
does.
around in these neighborhoods. So.
Church organizations have been very important, and the police department, Prince George's County Police, the volunteer firemen, the sheriff's departments, they've really been essential. And Andrews Air Force Base is an amazing, they step up and take on a huge number of homes every year. These folks really get out here and work, and it seems that even though you said we have a lot of volunteers, the more houses we're doing, the more volunteers we need. And it really is, time is essential to folks now. And they want to feel rewarded for what they're doing, even though they're doing, and they know, but you want to, the most important thing for me, if I'm a coordinator as house captain, is making sure my the homeowner is satisfied and my volunteers feel rewarded, because they're going to come back next year, because without those volunteers, we do not have a program. Without those essential county services, there's not a program.
Right.
And without the amazing folks that donate to us, that give of their time, it could not exist without them. So we're trying to grow, we want to grow, and each year, the house doesn't get younger, it gets older. Our
Right.
homeowners get older and mature. They have their own challenges of health, and it may change from where they're walking in a walker to now they need a ramp to be able to get
Okay.
into their house. They may have not been able, or they could have gotten through a bedroom door, but now they need a wider opening because of a wheelchair. It depends on the construction of the home a lot of times.
Okay, so that's a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lot. We have a few more minutes. So what's the best way for people to contact? They contact you two individually, or just to go to the website?
Website's best, I would say.
Yes, and
www.princeggeorgescounty
PG.
Christmas in April,
Yeah.
pg.org.
.org.
.org. Okay.
Do that
And,
again,
we also
Christmas
have-
in April, pg.org.
Okay.
Do you have Mary's phone number? In your-
I do. I have a number if I can give it.
Okay. Yeah, we have a couple
It's
minutes. Yeah.
301-868-0937, and that gets you right to the office. And you have a series of, the number, it rings, it answers, and you can go to the different areas to apply.
And
Okay, well,
let me
thank
give you
you.
the address.
Okay.
It's Christmas in April, 7915 Malcolm Road, Suite 102, Clinton, Maryland, 20735.
Okay. Thank you both. And
Thank you.
we are going to do another segment.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in.